and a guy PM'd me on Facebook, and for some reason it popped up and it came through. It usually doesn't. He's like, "I see you," and I was like, "Who the fuck is that?" And I did a mass text message to everybody. Hey, this is Jeff with blank company. This company but me, and I'm just following up, making sure you're taking care of. How's your experience with blank company? Did anybody get back to you? And we sent out like 60 text messages.
All right, you beautiful motherfuckers. We are back with a living legend right here. I got my man, Jeff Miller, who owns probably one of the coolest, most innovative, most interesting agencies. Like, I got to hand it to you, Jeff. You're a real OG in that regard of like
Appreciate it.
actually innovating and finding out new cool ways to do shit and getting like just super creative with your stuff. Runs an agency called Cool Beans Digital for dentists. And as well, you got obviously a huge cult-like following in the Facebook ad world, sharing all your secrets and all kinds of value and shit.
I will tell you what. I was in Scottsdale, Arizona, and a guy PM'd me on Facebook, and for some reason it popped up and it came through. It usually doesn't. He's like, "I see you," and I was like, "Who the fuck is that?" He's like, "I'm in your group," and I'm staring. I'm like, "What is happening?" And it turns out it's a fellow named Brian Millhouse, who's like pretty cool. But I was like, "Oh my god, this is like pretty nuts." But yeah, man, it's turned into like a spam that has become a thing. But it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the best, by the way. I call it niche celebrity, where people know who you are in like a little niche, but you don't really have to like worry about, like, I heard Eminem one time saying that he was taking a shit and a hand reached under the stall and was like, can you sign my CD here, brother? We got the cool kind of celebrity, which is like if you go to the conference, everybody at the conference knows who you are, but when you go home,
Your wife doesn't know who you are. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what happened. You go home, your wife is like, "I don't care who you are. You can take out the trash." You're like, but everyone thinks I'm famous. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you because I've watched a little bit of your evolution in the last year, and you're just up to some really cool shit that I think a lot of our people could really benefit from. And the first thing is I want to talk about a few little things, but one of those is I love what you guys are doing with Go High Level. So every agency owner has faced this challenge, which is you generate leads for a local business and they have no fucking idea what to do. And there's all kinds of different ways. Like, I've tried over 10 years to deal with that, in terms of like, they don't answer the phone, they don't call people back. And then what ends up often happening is like 3 months later, there's this pissing match of all your leads are bad. No, you suck at answering the phone. And you've taken a more proactive approach by actually using Go High Level and sending a, "Hey, dentist, you lost fucking money because your front desk didn't answer the phone," in a very polite way, of course, but doing a version of that. I would love to hear just your thoughts on what you were thinking when you came up with that.
So way back in the day, my first big shot, like the really big shot, was this doctor in Miami, Florida. He had a chain like 14, maybe 15 physical therapy locations. People go and get their feet, hands, shoulders, all that stuff. Like, that was his specialty. They get them fixed, and he'd build the insurance company. Everybody's happy. And he's famous. It's really cool. This is like the big deal. And I met him through a person of a person of a person. My ad said him. He calls me. I call him. I end up pitching him, his CMO, and his CEO. And we're just talking about the wallet out, ready by button seat customer campaign. And he comes on board, pays the $4,000. And of course, 30 days later, he sends me a text message, just a question mark, saying, "What's going on? We haven't had any ROI. I'm personally paying this out of my pocket. What's going on?" And at this point, I was a lot more unsure of myself, a little bit less steady with myself and like the place in the universe. I took it as like a personal attack. I was like, he's saying I'm no good, not the leads are no good. He's saying I'm no good. My business is a reflection of me. And I just got all fritzy about, super unsure. So I logged in and I pulled all the leads from Facebook. Like, I downloaded from the CRM and I opened up ClickSend and I did a mass text message to everybody. "Hey, this is Jeff with blank company. This company but me. And I'm just following up, making sure you're taking care of. How's your experience with blank company? Did anybody get back to you?" And we sent out like 60 text messages. And we got 10 messages back immediately saying, "Nobody called me back. Nope. And then we got like 4 or 5 that are like, "Yeah, I just came in. It was great." And 2 or 3 others like, "Yeah, I just had my surgery. Thanks." This seems like a winning campaign to me, but he had no clue. So what I ended up doing is I recorded a video of me scrolling through the results, proving to him that my sneaky survey, that's what we called it, was functioning as intended, catching missing pieces. And we got a whole bunch of people saying that they never got a call back. His voicemail to me was like, Jeff, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't trust people in this town anymore. Everybody's lying to me. They said they're calling everybody back. Your people are saying that they're not. And I had no idea people came in. I had no idea we made money. And then he ended up renewing for another month, another month, another month, up, another month. And I was like, damn, man, that's pretty cool. Like that anger functioned into a business process or a cool toolkit or a Google Doc I can use in the future. And that became the sneaky surveys to fight Sharon. And Sharon is the front desk receptionist that is treated unfairly and very poorly, but you know what I mean? Like, it just sucks.
Yeah.
So that was version 1. And we call them sneaky surveys. And there's ways to set up to where it's automatic. Like, I can send a sneaky survey out every 3 days, every 14 days, or as needed, but it was always after the fact. It was never before. It was never during, it was never immediate. It was always like a couple days later. And with this version of the agency, I really did not like the idea of me going through the huff and puff of creating the ad, targeting, making sure the price was competitive, doing the custom research, running the campaign, having the CRM set up, hiring an operator, getting the operator and the lead on the phone, and then doing a live transfer, and then having nothing go through. And so I went to the CRM, and there's a little drop-down menu you can add into your CRM, and we call it live transfer status. And there are 2 options: live transfer successful, live transfer attempted. And the way we set up our business, and I went to the operators, like, well, you do a live transfer and somebody picks up, you're going to mark live transfer as successful, and it will send a text message. Hey, we just completed a live transfer. This lead opted into a $15,000 ad. Your operator's on the phone with them now. Follow up with your operator. Cool. But the other menu option says live transfer attempted, which sends a text message saying, hey, Dr. Blank, we just tried to do a live transfer to your office during normal business hours. This lead opted into a $15,000 offer. We tried to contact your operator, but nobody picked up. We've told the lead that your team will call them back. And the doctors now get text messages saying, we just tried to do a live transfer. Jeff's doing his job, and nobody on my team picked up the phone. And that happens instant. Like, as soon as the live transfer happens, they get a text message saying they got it, or a text message saying they missed it. That has allowed me to always be on the winning side. Even if they cancel, even if they're angry at me, is not my fault. And like, that helps save your emotions a lot. I think a lot of agencies like wild swings of problems, coupled with like Facebook and YouTube and all that. But all of a sudden I was like, okay, at least I know this thing is working. At least I know we're making deliveries. Like, Amazon will deliver your stuff whether you pick it up from the front door or not. And that's what I felt like. So I felt very confident with that. And for everybody watching, if you've got this client that is like always complaining that the leads are bad, maybe the leads are bad. I get it. Maybe they are 100% fine. But you should do a sneaky survey out to everybody, every single lead, mass text. I use ClickSend, but now you can use GHL or Twilio or whatever you want to do. And do a big old text message. Hey, this is Jeff with Blank Company. Just checking in. How's your experience with Blank? Did anybody call you back? Were you taken care of? And just blast it out. You'd be mind blown. Every time we do it, there's like 5 or 6 people saying, I want to buy. And nobody called me back. Even when they did get a call back, they still said they didn't. Fine, right? And then in your internal way of working, you can set up your CRM to like automatically send that text message. And you'll get dentists calling you back immediately saying, I'm so sorry. Like, we were on the phone. I'm so sorry we didn't pick up the phone. Yeah. My staff was super busy. I know, like, it's a hard time. I go, Dr. H, I hear you loud and clear, but you got to find a way to pick up the phone, man. These people want to pay you money. He's like, okay, we'll do better next time. I'm aggressive. He's on the back foot, which is almost never the case because doctor, lawyers, accountants, pedigree degrees feel like they are up here, and we're always going to be down here because we don't have this like stamp of approval. It's really the other way, but that's just how they view it. So if I can present data and evidence on demand, all of a sudden it's like, I know my business works, and that helps with the selling, that helps with proof. And there are some times when I'm doing my sales song and dance, and all I'm doing is I'm pushing play. And I'll push play on the really, really good live transfers. Like, hey, my name is Blank. I'm really interested in XYZ. I saw the ad. I've got money set aside. I've got a 750 credit score. I'm looking to buy in the next 90 days. I should bring my mom. All right, we'll call them. And you can listen and you can push play. Hey, I just want to confirm this is you. Okay, great, fine, perfect. And we try to do a live transfer and it picks up. I go, Mr. Johnson, like the same campaign. If you can pick up the phone then we can know if this works for you. 3-month minimum. What do you say? And then they say, okay. And they sign the same day. So it's that type of opportunity. But if you don't have that way of working, your feedback system is your self-doubt, where you're like, I don't know if this is working. But with this way of working, your feedback system is customers saying, I'm ready to pay you money and let's boogie. So there you go.
There is a shit ton of good shit in there, by the way, to unpack. Just a couple of comments. I think we've all dealt with that, and I found that more than anything, like what you're talking about is I found the same thing. Is if you deal with it in a reactive, like 3-4 months later, and you get into a pissing match, it doesn't really matter if what you're saying is the truth. You're going to lose that pissing match. And if you deal with the fact that they suck at the phone more as a front end thing, even if it's just to let them know. I've experienced this in my niche. So if you talk to a lawyer and you say, hey, how's your phone? There's a line they use universally. They'll say, if it's a case I want, I close 100% of the time, all the time.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, okay.
Every time.
I very fucking much doubt that after like 15 years of working with local businesses. And I used to get in the same situation where, like, what the hell? We haven't made any money, blah, blah, blah. And I found a much easier way to deal with it. This is our version of it, but it's the same kind of idea of being proactive. Is I just have a dude on Fiverr call and say, hurt my back, blah, blah, blah. And I let them screw up the phone call and then send them the recording of the phone call. But at least then they can look at it as something we need to work on and improve upon. Because as you pointed out before, they don't need leads. They more than often actually need help with the whole conversion process into an actual sale, like the whole journey. And the more you like actually help them with that entire journey, the more profitable you're going to be. And I also like, by the way, that you're, this is a little secret that we talked about my Loom strategy, but your sales calls are basically just what I would call a dramatic demonstration of just like, hey, just listen to what a live transfer sounds like.
Yeah.
Rather than me do a song and dance and bullshit, just hear what you're going to get.
So let me tell you, and this will be applicable for everybody watching, is that I used to do these 1.5-hour long demos where I have this emotional exchange. You're asking questions like, hey, like, how does your family think about your business? And, can you afford rent next month? And you're like, I can't believe I'm asking that person this question. And then they came in with an ad saying, could we add $50,000 a month to your business? With no indication that it's a paid program. You're hoping that your influential sales psychology makes them realize the gap is so big that they have to pay you money. And it's a sales process that I didn't particularly enjoy, but I wanted to try out.
Same.
And the emotional exchange just sucks so much. Like, it's just exhausting. What I've discovered in the way I've changed my business is I put the thing that I do and then the price that I'll do it at on the ad without regard to what that number is. And the mistake is thinking a lower number is better. That's not necessarily true. You have to find your parity in each industry and each product. So like, for example, dentists, the retainer rate of retainers is a lot different than the retainer rate for all on fours. You got to figure it out. And just like in law, there's like tickets, and then there's what personal injury. You got to find the number that works best as far as like your product and your price, but you advertise, right? And now I'm on the phone with people that are on that custom list. They're obviously a client. There's no lookalikes, there's no bycatch, there's no patients. They're on the custom list. I've uploaded Facebook. They see the ad that says, hey, get this for this price. We get on the phone. How do we get on the phone? They fill out the lead form. I send them a text message from my phone saying, hey, this is Jeff. Did you fill a form about blank? They go, yeah, great. I'll call you at 2:00. They go, great. That's the whole pre-call sequence, is literally a text message from my phone. Yeah. I call them. It's a very friendly conversation. Hey, how you doing? Okay, great. Yeah, I texted you. Okay, yeah, what's up? All right, cool. The way that works is you're going to talk for a bit. I'm going to talk for a bit, 15 minutes. We're going to know how much if we want to do business. And they say, okay. And it emulates how they purchase from catalogs. They're going through it. Is that expensive? Yeah, but I want it. So they call and place an order. So it ends up being more like order taking and more like, hey, let me just show you what your ad would look like.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to ask you, by the way. Can I just hit you up on that point? Because my experience when, in the old way, when I used to like the old sales call mentality of 90 minutes, you step into their pain, you do all the psychology. You can never, ever say the fucking price up front until the very last moment. And you like hide behind this. And when you're more just like, here's the price and here's what you're going to get for it. Like you said, I find it much more order taking, where it used to be I talk to people who are like 3 out of 10 and have to twist their arm for an hour and a half. Now I talk to people who are 7, 8, 9, sometimes even 10 out of 10 that are just like ready to go. And then you're usually just answering a question or two, but I'd love to hear your experience on that as well.
So the justification I went through when I had like my business rebuild. Like when I got out of business winter and I was like, all right, I went into business with, I got to rebuild this. I was like, look, if I bring on, as an example, a $1,500 a month client, I will cheers to the world. Oh my God, I got a $1,500 a month client. I'm the best thing in the world. This is amazing. And then my bank account was $300, and I'm like, where the fuck did all these costs come from? Like, why is this thing so expensive? I got to pay for this guy. I got to pay for that guy. I got to pay appointment setter. I got to pay the salesperson. I got to pay for ads. I got to pay for salesperson time and appointment setting time. So all the false positives. I got to pay for all the software. I got to pay for all. And the end result is like, holy shit, man. Like at a $1,500 sale, daddy's taking home 1,000, 30% has to go right out of the gate. And that's if your numbers are tight. For some people, it's 40 or 50%. So like everything before the sale is half of the dollars that you collect. Everything after the sale is the other half. And you're like, that kind of sucks. Like, I don't like that. And being on the phone for 10 hours a day and getting a $2,000 sale, that hurts a lot because you only got one sale versus being on the phone for 3 hours a day and getting 3 sales. You go, oh, that was pretty cool. That was like, it was much better to have a very strong filter. And so what I did is I changed my business from this like funnel type of approach that everybody is familiar with. Like, you know, you get the lead and then blah, 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 blah. Each of those requires a step and an optimization of exhaustion. So now I operate like, all right, this is the pipeline. So no funnel. If they're in the ad, there's a 90% chance they're going to go all the way through to the end.
Yeah.
Which allows me to remove appointment setter, salesperson, media buying, onboarding, CSM, project manager, Upwork, Monday.com, or all the other derivatives of ClickUp and all that stuff. I don't have to deal with that anymore. Like I don't need technical implementation project managers. I go,
yeah,
it is the ad. We're going to make it now. I'll type it in. It looks like the one that got you, right? Yeah, then we'll do it for you. Okay, cool. And then everything is done. And so now my costs are like 30 minutes of build time. And I do it the same day. So I'm calling them. I go, yeah, I'll actually have this stuff up tomorrow. Yeah, if you pay the invoice right now, you'll have a document on your desk that has the ads that we're running, suggested scripts, best ways of working, all that stuff. They go, really? I go, yeah, not 7 to 10 days tomorrow. They go, no shit. So like that way of working has enabled my sales process to transition away from these hour-and-a-half long, hope I hit a home run, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 5 closing calls, to I'm on a 15-minute friendly chat, driving home, and he's driving home, and we're just talking about whatever, where I'm from, because he's already made the purchasing decision on the ad.
Yeah.
He's just making sure that we culturally fit and just trying to pass a smell test and everything is fine. And there's been times where I got fielded a question like, yeah, man, thank God you're not a dentist because I wouldn't believe you in the first place. I go, that's right. I just do Facebook ads, man. I'm not doing any operations consulting. I'm not trying to like grow your business. I just run ads. They go, thank God somebody knows this place. They were telling me that.
Yeah.
Contrast that with the business opportunity of business development ads of add $30,000 a month. They're going, so are you like a consultant that has like 20 years of experience? Why should I believe you?
Feel this, the arm folding kind of closed offness. Yeah.
Versus like you go to Publix and you know how much the tomatoes are, and you're asking like, hey, which one of these tomatoes are good for souffle? And the guy's like, oh, that way. You're like, okay, thanks. That's my purchasing process now.
Yeah.
It's like, I think this is a good fit for you or not. And the price is in the ad. So effectively what has happened, my hour-and-a-half long sales demo with a 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 3 conversion rate now has like 70-80% conversion rates, and it's only 2 or 3 phone calls a week, and I can build everything out in 30 minutes and everything's up and running.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be like complaints of blah blah blah. You sent a lot of transfer and it was no good. I go, hey, you're right, we'll catch you on the next one. They go, okay, just give me feedback. Versus, I can't believe the program that I bought is like the worst thing in the world, and the first lead was horrible and everybody's bad, and who do you, and I didn't have time to go blah blah blah. So I think having a price point with an ad and a hand-holding free, I don't know the right term for the sales process, but literally just talk and shop 15 minutes.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
It's such a relief.
I call it friends with money, where it's like when I do have a sales conversation now,
like
because they already know the offer and all the details and the price, all the relevant things to make a decision. They're 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 before you even talk. And so it's less of like, this fake 10-minute rapport building and then tell me about all the horrible things in your life and business, to more just like, hey, what's up, dude? Like that's kind of, how your calls go. And I just, it's really just like talking to a friend, because there's no like need for the song and dance, because they already know who you are, what you do, and how much it costs before you even started talking.
Correct. They've learned that they really only need a little bit of information to make a decision, which is what do I get, who do I get it from, and how much do I pay to get it? And the ad, by the way, answers 2 out of those 3. So the only thing we're doing is who are you? And I go, yeah, my name is Jeff. I'm down in Miami, blah, 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 doing this for a while. Yeah, actually, while you're talking to making the ad, what's your price point again? Here's what we'd run for you. Here's the questions we would ask. And what's the best number for live transfer? All right, we're onboarded. You just got to pay your invoice. And the guy's like, what? I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool, right? They go, you don't have to talk to my staff or train them. No, if they can pick up the phone.
Or some people have these
That's
onboarding funnels that have like 8,000 fucking questions that you get, like, they want to know, like, where do you want to be in 17 years from now? Like, and half the time they're not even going to be still working together in 3 months. I wanted to ask you about that because I know one of the important pieces for actually dialing that process, and at least it was for us, I'm assuming the same for you, is having like real clarity about who your shit works best for and who it doesn't, and then not trying to bullshit that in the ad. I would just love to hear a little bit of your thoughts on how you kind of came to those conclusions on your own, because now you're not trying to have this big funnel that speaks to everybody. Like for me,
correct.
There's a huge difference between having just any lawyer on my list and the guy who spends $1 million a month on TV. Those are like totally different fucking leads. And I'd rather have 6 of the TV guys than 8 gazillion of the solos, right?
Yo, Morgan and Morgan. Holy crap, that company, like, they are spending so much. Dude. Like every time I travel, it's everywhere.
He's on another level, but I know just from a fact, because I'm in that, they spend 25 million just on TV alone. And then if you guys have never been to Florida, by the way, like literally Morgan and Morgan's, they're on every fucking billboard. They're on if you turn on the TV, they're there. If they're on the radio, they're there. If you look at a bus stop, they're there. They got ads on the side of taxis. Like you literally cannot fucking escape Morgan and Morgan. If you turn on social media and stuff, they're probably going to be advertising you there. Like they are not shy about doing that. They're the largest personal injury firm in the country. And if you're in Florida, they're pretty much impossible to miss.
Yeah. Big yellow fun. All right. So here's 2 answers. The first is, let me go through a niche selection, industry selection process where I have to second guess my skills and go through this whole big ass form of who my dream client is, the avatar worksheet, their pains and the problems, all that. Like that type of stuff is an option, but I didn't go into dentistry because of my answers on that sheet. I didn't start doing all-in-4 ads because of the answers on the sheet. I don't know the difference between a C-REC machine and a 3D ultrasound X-ray machine. I don't know the difference. Like I don't know the difference between the Straumann implants and then the MSI. I don't fucking know. And if you look at like my client avatar sheet, it's nothing at all like this over here. The way I got into dentistry is I simply ran an ad that said, hey, dentists, do you want more blank? That was it. That's, hey, do you want more blank? Price is starting at this. And I probably ran 3 or 4 different types of ads based upon their 3 or 4 different types of products. So every industry as a whole breaks down to 5, maybe 6 major products.
Yeah.
So you have like carpets have like residential, commercial, industrial.
Yeah. Dentists I just say on that point, we've talked about that before, but I call that the $100 bill. And when you hit this right, it's a very downhill thing. Like I've noticed for you guys, it's at least part of what you're doing is implants. And they obviously, a dentist values an implant person far more than just like, get somebody in for the $29 teeth whitening kind of deal.
Yeah. And so all I did was I just ran those ads and one of them worked. And I was like, all right, that's it. So I could have, and I still suggest, and I did do the call everybody, what do you want from your marketing type of thing. I had those conversations. They all said implants. You could deep dive into a research and go Google keywords and do some analysis and go Michael Porter's 5 forces if you want, which I did. But looking back, that 80-20 was me saying, okay, from an online advertising company, I should probably advertise online to get online advertising clients. What am I advertising? I have no clue. And the status at the time was have like a cool creative with amazing copy. And then you have a VSL or a landing page. And I was like, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm not even going to write copy, because every time I write copy, somebody argues about the your. Y-O-U-R versus apostrophe R. I was like, I'm not going to get it right.
True.
So
the spelling police really do come out on fucking Facebook
it's like,
ads.
like I know it's wrong and I don't care. So tough titties. So I deleted all the copy that I wrote, and I just put a fucking like a Publix flyer, like, hey, tomatoes, here's what they are for the price. That was it. So my ad literally says like, hey, dentist, get unlimited blank and blank, blank, and blank for X price, not including ad spend, results in 14 days. Like a little disclaimer at the bottom. And that was it. and it was bright red with like black font or yellow font or gray font or red font. It was literally me doing the least amount of work possible
Yeah.
to try to get clients. And then it worked. And I was like, that can't be right. There's no way this guy signed up. And then I texted him and he's like, yep, I'm ready. It's like, okay. So I called him and I was like, all right, so, why don't you tell me what's going on over there, wherever you are? He's like, yeah, so we're based out of Virginia and this is what we're looking for. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You want implants? You want all enforced? We really want implants. I was like, okay, so walk me through your implant process. And he goes, well, they come in and then they blank and we put it on the machine. And I was like, what type of machine is that? He's like, that one. I was like, yeah, that's the good one. That's the expensive one. He's like, yeah, that's super expensive. I don't know the fuck I'm saying.
Right.
Right. But it's fun because I'm not trying to be an expert. I'm just trying to be a good ads person. So he goes, all right, so what do you do? I said, well, this is what we do. We run the ad and it looks like this. And we only target the top 25% incomes. And then they go into our CRM so your staff doesn't have to back and forth. We do the filtering and do a live transfer. And he goes, how do you do live transfers? I said, well, our CRM, the way we do it is like we put them on hold for 30 seconds, call you. So we've got a live one, connect the call, and then exit and continues recording. He goes, oh, that's cool. I go, yeah. And every time we do one, we'll send you a receipt. That's what we call them. So you know that you got what you paid for. And, 1 out of 10 is good, but the rest are trash. And you don't know until you pick up the phone. He says, okay, how much? I go, the price is in the ad. He goes, what was it? I go, $750. Okay. And that was the whole sales process.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go through this, like, what do I want to be? What's my niche type of thing? What I had to do was, be a good entrepreneur and spend money on ads and then see if it worked. And if I had run those 4 or 5 different ads, so you have like dentistry, you got 4 or 5 different sub products, right? If I had done that and nobody said, okay, I'm interested, I would have gone back to my research and had an existential crisis of like, am I good enough for all this? But I didn't because it worked. And if I, looking back now, I probably would just changed industries and just said, all right, I'm gonna do carpet cleaning. Hey, carpet cleaners, do you want more residential long-term contracts? Starting here, blah, blah, blah. Commercial deals, industrial, that's it.
Yeah.
And
But there is
then
a real magic to what you're
just
talking
advertise.
about. And I wrote about this in version 2.0 of my book, which is you're selling outcomes. And I find if you look at like 99 out of 100 agencies, they're selling deliverables like we do SEO, and they don't really care about the SEO. They just want the implant person from the SEO to come in the door. And so I think,
Yep.
you have ways of making the complex really simple.
Yeah, I found that when we don't know what we're doing, we lean into the complexity of the situation. And what we need to start doing as a whole, either as an industry or as a person or a culture, like when I don't know what's going on, I should lean into the simple. Like there has to be a simple way of getting this shit done.
Yeah.
Not a complicated way. Don't add to it. When there's too much stuff, you should be taking away. Like,
Yeah.
what do we need less of? And that was frustrating because I came from a world where, I wanted a Mad Men style agency that had like all these people running around. You had a copywriter, junior copywriter, associate
It seems
copywriter.
cool, right? To have this big team.
Yeah. You're like, ooh, I'm wearing a suit. Oh my
Yeah.
God. It fucking sucks. Okay. And my agency's version of that was having a CSM and check-in calls and did you check with your client, all that. And I was like, man, I do not want to have to, if I was on the receiving end of that, I would not pick up that person's phone. I don't care that they're checking in. It's just more spam on my phone. I didn't want to be on the receiving end of that because I have been. I was like, I fucking hate that shit. I just wanted something that was stupid simple that would really, really work. And I don't have to spend a lot of time on it. I just want to pick up the phone. I was like, all right, I'm gonna build that. And it's really, really hard to do that when you're trying to add stuff and value stack and value add. Instead, I was like, I'm just gonna be, this is what you bought and this is what you want, and it's a competitive price, and that's it. End of discussion. Very like Amazon. Like, I just bought that, that's all I want. And the philosophy was how do we get it to 2-day shipping, but we got it down to 30 minutes to build everything up from scratch. So I think the original question that people are going to be asking themselves is what industry or what niche do I go into? And one way of answering that is go talk to your friends or friends of friends and say, hey, I'm learning how to do ads. Can I do a couple for you? And they'll say, sure. And you draw some ads on Facebook and use Canva or whatever. Hey, do you want to try this? Cool. Let's see if it works on the internet. You got $100, maybe you'll make some money. And then you just run it and now you have a client either paying you money in terms of paying you either money or in terms of video testimonials.
Yeah.
Or you just start advertising for a client.
And you get to learn on their dime.
Correct. Yeah. And I did a video on like, if I was starting up from scratch all over again, I would I would pick one of these three. I would pick online advertising, selling, or copywriting by the top 10 books in that chosen niche or industry or vertical or whatever it is. So like top 10 copywriting books, top 10 online advertising books, top 10 selling books. Read them all like the Bible, and then start sending text messages out saying, hey, I just read the top 10 books on selling. I think I can do some fun stuff for you and help you make more money. Are you interested for a 5-minute chat? And everybody's going to say yes to that shit. And then you get them on the phone, you have a client really, really fast.
Yeah.
But that doesn't come from having that client avatar worksheet that we all know about, like their pains and their problems and all that. Like I went through the motions, but I had to throw it away because it was just taking too long.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. So
yeah, and I also think it's an iterative process. Can't say that word. It's like you can't figure it out from the sidelines without actually talking to a few of the people in your industry. And so the biggest shortcut of that is just fucking talk to them, right? Like don't no sheets, no anything, and figure out how to open that. I wanted to ask you because we kind of hit on copy, and one of the things I noticed in your copy that I think you do brilliantly, that is universally true across local businesses, is local businesses hate their competitors, and there's always like 4 to 5 big kind of scammer companies within a niche. Like in ours it's Legal Match, and in yours I noticed like a lot of dentists, I presume from your copy, hate 1-800-dentist. But you do a really good job of like calling those people out. I would love to just hear a little bit of like, you know, the psychology of your copy and why you put that in there.
So there's 2 schools of thought. The first is, if I'm trying to get something up fast, I don't have any copy at all. I just put a Canva ad, creative, that's 80% of the win really fast, put a lot of time, effort, energy into the product and the price. Once that is working, I have an internal argument of, do I want to have more results and throw some copy in there and see what happens? So let's say I have a product and price that is working. So again, Canva, hey, treadmill gyms, do you want more treadmill clients? Get unlimited treadmill clients, and we'll do all the leads and qualifications for you for $7.99 a month, whatever it is, right? That works, cool. Get an ROI, everybody's happy. Let's try optimizing and climbing the mountain. So that's where I start throwing in copy, right? And here's what I found, by the way, that people will look at those ads that call out the competitors, and those are actually the worst sales calls I've had. The worst ones. Like, you know, like if I was doing pest control, where it's, hey, sick and tired of thumbtack leads, that type of thing. What I found is that those people, back when we did pest control, those are the businesses that had structurally like the worst problems. Like they couldn't pick up the phone, they didn't have a competitive offer, all stuff. So when I applied that to dentist stuff, the ad stands out the most, and I get the most response and the most interest and the most desire from those ads. But those are actually the worst clients and the worst sales calls, which was the opposite of what I thought. Looking back, like I get the justification. Like if I was a personal trainer saying, hey, really fat suburban mom that can't lose the weight, sick and tired of personal trainers, sick and tired of like fad diets, sick and tired of like, those are all things that they've tried that they suck at. And not only am I reminding them that they suck at stuff, but also number 2, that is me acknowledging that they've had 99% failure rate. Like, why would I want a client with 99% failure rate? Like, if you can't pick up the phone for the thumbtack leads or they 100 dentist leads, then why am I thinking that they're not going to pick up the phone for that, right? Totally. Right? Which is the opposite of what everyone expects when they ask that question. Like, I have found that those sales conversations are the worst. So what I'm trying to do now is actually flip that and say, hey, we have all the benefits of 1-800-dentists without blank, right? So now I'm only attracting to people, only talking to people that acknowledge that 1-800-dentist has like a good thing, that there's small areas of improvements, small pain points, stuff like that. But I'm going to be testing it out and try to optimize for the top of the mountain, because like we optimize down. But if I was going to rewrite that ad, it would be, imagine 1-800-dentists without the long-term contracts.
Yeah.
I'm interested. Imagine 1-800-dentists, but they only bought implants, not teeth whitening. Oh, that'd be great, right? So I'm only dealing with people that have their businesses set up for success and have positive 1-800-dentist interactions. So that type of thing. And I know that the other way of working works, like when you call it the competition. I just, in my experience, like it's always the wrong sales conversation or the wrong narrative. So we're trying something different.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because I found this. a lot of times people don't realize it, but they write ads to speak to the bottom 80% of any market. Like I'll just get any struggling lawyer. Like, do you desperately need leads to keep the lights on? Are
Yeah.
you are you looking at a phone that never rings? Are you, like all those things? And then they're shocked, like this person showed up and they have no money. And it's like
Yep.
it's a big difference if you run an ad that says like, "Hey, have you noticed your TV ads are costing you more than $1,000 per signed case?" Suddenly,
Right.
those costs are going up. We found a way using TikTok or whatever to get 500. And I've noticed this just from being in some of the top masterminds. When the top guys make decisions, it's less of like a casino game as it is for the bottom end of the market. Is they get a call,
Yep.
1-800 dentist says, "I'm going to make you rich," and they say, "All right, here's the money, go to the casino." As
Yep.
where a lot of the top guys are more like, they'll ask, "Who's the best person you know for blank?" And then they'll, if they're going to bet, they're going to bet on the single best person. So that makes sense. Want to
Yep.
shift gears a little bit here and talk about something that's probably a kind of a timely thing. The old Facebook ban city that's going on right
Yeah.
now is,
Yeah.
it seems like, I went through this years ago where like Google and SEO, where like Google and SEO just got so fucking crazy. Like you couldn't depend on them to be the same 2 weeks in a row.
Yep.
And Facebook's a little bit like that. So I'm like personally on my sixth account. So I like to get a little congratulation.
Yeah. Good job, me. Figured it out.
I got my
Beat the
mother's
system.
account, my sister's account, and my
Yeah.
own, and I'm working through them all. I actually had a guy at Facebook look into it, and he's like, "Ooh, we have an internal ranking system, 1 to 4, 4 being like a good trusted advertiser, and you're a 1, and we would never ever run ads for you again." I'm like, "Well, that's good to know." Um,
Thank
so
you.
so I wanted to hear kind of your thoughts on both what you're doing in the short term to kind of deal with this,
Yeah.
and more importantly, actually, love to hear your thoughts about kind of like how you see diversifying it or other lead platforms, or just what you're
Yeah.
doing about it long term, so that you don't have all the eggs in the Zuckerberg basket.
I remember my operations professor talking about Caterpillar would never let a single supplier own more than 30% of the dollar. So if they had like this $10 million budget to buy wheels or tractors or trailers or whatever, every supplier for there could only get 30% of the budget. It forced diversification because they knew one of those guys was going to mess up and they can temporarily move the dollars or buy extra from the other guy. Everything was cool. And I've been running my business without that. I've been saying 100% of my dollars are based upon Facebook, which was cool ish up until like 2 months ago, where I'm in Paraguay doing my Facebook stuff and everything is fine. I come back and I land. The first thing I open up is like, "Hey, we've disabled your advertising access." I go, "Not my first fucking rodeo, Facebook." Okay, fine. So I click like appeal. 2 days later, fine, nothing. 2 days later again. I'm like, all right, at this point, like a bunch of clients can be asking questions why I can't log into their ad accounts. Like this kind of sucks.
Yeah. Not to mention,
So I
usually at
open
that point, between your own shit and clients, you've given the company like millions of dollars, and they've given you no warning, like, "Hey, you're just instantly banned, and we can't tell you what you did."
right. It would be nice if they're like, "Hey man, one more try, please stop." They're like, "Nah, you just fuck off." That's what happens, right? So I open up Slack and I talk to my admin, who's the backup for all these accounts. And I go, "Hey, Jean, you and I are going to be best friends for the next 30 days. And she goes, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "I'm going to be logging in at night and sending you Loom videos, and you're going to follow them and go into the ad accounts and then adjust them. And I'll check in the morning." And she's in the Philippines, so she's working in the night. So every night she got like 20 Loom videos. And she's like, "This sucks." I was like, "It does. It's going to be that way for a while. Remember how I overpaid you? Didn't ask questions. Let's go." And she's like, "Okay." So I learned how to do everything in 5 minute fucking Loom videos because I was not about to buy like another upgrade or another subscription, right? So they're all 5 minute less tutorials and to go in and change stuff. And I could open up my ads manager. I could make the edits, but I couldn't publish. So I would go and I would do it live, click this, click that, and I would send it to her, and she'd have 10 things, and when I wake up, they'd be done. So it was like it was okay, but I did feel like I was operating like handicapped or like somewhat blind. Because if I wanted to go and have this impulse of like changing a thing, tough, can't do it. Gotta wait for Gene. I was like, this really sucks. But it was doable. 30 days after my advertising access was removed or disabled, by the way, the ads were still running. That was okay. And all the pages were running. That was okay. So like everything was fine except for Jeff. Like Jeff, you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And then on the 30th day, they shut down our super big customer getting page or a patient getting page. So our way of working was we're just use the same page for everybody. A, to build a brand, which is cool, but more importantly, B, I don't want to have to request access to that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy. It's all under the same page. It's fine. So they disabled that. I was like, that's not good. So we made a new one and it worked for a week. And then they disabled that one. I was like, all right, punch me straight in the dick, man. Like Facebook is trying to say, get out. This sucks. And you've never realized how difficult business.facebook is and the business settings are when you try to navigate without actually having access. So imagine one screen over here, and then the VA screen over here, and then the page is disabled, but the ad accounts are active, and you're like, where the fuck is this ad running? How is it billing if there's no page? Like all that weird buggy stuff was happening. I go, all right, I think I'm done here. I've heard it loud and clear. I need a different solution. That's why I remembered what my professor said is like, you always have 3 suppliers. Yes, it's 90%, but you can play with the numbers, right? So I was like, okay, time to open up AdWords and figure this sucker out. And I gave myself permission to not do it perfectly, which I think is super important for people operating under a stress scenario. I gave myself permission to do it 20, 30, 40, 50 times and to do it wrong. I think that's what people like forget is like, you're supposed to do it wrong. It's like homework. Fuck this up, look up the answer.
Yeah.
So
not just that, I'd say like personally getting an attachment to how ads perform. So when they go well, I'm awesome. And when they don't, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Like you end up with this type of experience.
Yeah.
So I open up ads.google, open AdWords. I have no idea what the brackets mean, what the quotes mean. I can't find the keyword thing. And then it's a landing page or lead form. It was like a whole shit show, but I was like, that's cool, man. I'm gonna go as far as I can. So I did 30, 40 minutes. I said, okay, I can feel the frustration because it's not exactly like Facebook. So I'm going to take a walk and come back in a bit. And then I took a walk and back in a bit. And after the 15th iteration, now I know exactly which keywords perform for our 4 or 5 dentists immediately. I did that. I was reading about it, going on YouTube, doing the education thing, figuring it all out. But what I found is most of the tutorials were like way too long when I was like, I just need 2 or 3 pieces of information, which is unique because I was doing it while I was educating myself. Most people like they go through the 12 hours and then they try to do it and they get angry and they go back to tutorials. Yeah. Like, no, man, I know how to do all this. I'm just looking for the answers. So we started up and running. I paid for the ads myself in the beginning and I probably spent like $200-300 my own money. And then we got 4 or 5 leads out of it. And I was like, oh, Google does work. And they respond to the text message, did a live transfer. Like, oh, this is fucking cool. That's pretty awesome. And we still put the price in the ad. And for our dentists, we're advertising a $15,000 price point. And what I've realized with AdWords and Google and just like Facebook and just like my life is like, if shit gets complicated, your goal is not to do better or do more work. Your advantage is making it simple. So when I go into AdWords now, there's only 5 or 6 or 7 keywords that I think about. That's it. And the cool thing about AdWords is it will tell you which your worst keywords are. So you're always getting this like positive feedback of adjustment and stuff like that. I ended up hiring a fellow to do the media buying, and he has access to all the AdWords stuff and the Facebook ad stuff, so we can do some changing fixes, stuff like that. So it feels, now the business feels a lot less like I'm pushing a boulder, more like I'm pushing a boat. Like a boat will move. You just got a rudder. Yeah. A boulder, you got to push and it always goes in the wrong fucking direction. Like it always goes to the left. So the learning for me with Facebook over the past 30 days is you can get shut down for any reason at all, whether you think you're doing it right or wrong. No.
Yeah, okay, I can just confirm you can read the policy like 45 times and still not know what you did.
Yeah. It's like, hey, yeah, you circumvented systems. No, I didn't. I just clearly didn't. Like 100% beyond a shot, I did not. And they're like, you did it. And like, thank you. That's very, very helpful.
Yeah.
So so that's number 1. Number 2 is having a single source supplier is your fault. And I had to own that. And so like, all right, I've been a single source supplier for like 6 years. So I'm just buying everything from Facebook. So now I've got Facebook, I've got YouTube, which we're still figuring out, not great at it. I've got AdWords, which we're like 80% competent in, and we're starting doing TikTok. So what Facebook has done is even if they turn everything back on, everything's fine, now I have 4 options. It's like we took a break and I was like, well, I'm dating somebody else now. So I don't think Facebook is going to make they're going to take a loss this quarter because it's not just me. Like I made that thread. I think there's 150 people.
Yeah, I hear it every day. Every day I hear it. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is it takes more work to get that structure in place. But the flip side of it is like Facebook ads, anybody who's random can confirm what I'm saying is they do not work like 100% of the time continuously. Like you're
Correct.
changing creatives, and it's whatever, they work and they work really well, but they're the opposite of whatever you would call set and forget. And so
Yep.
having like other systems run simultaneously so that when you have downtime in one thing, the other things kind of kicking in can be like a really useful thing.
Yep.
Wanted to ask you a little bit as well, just to like kind of just looking at my notes of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and I won't
Yep.
keep you much longer because I know you're a busy man with lots of cool shit to do. But I wanted to ask your thoughts on live transfer. This is a thing that I think
Yeah.
is like a really cool value add. And actually, to
Yep.
me, the biggest value add that you're kind of giving these clients is what they don't have to do, because most of these people don't know how to qualify, and they don't know how to like determine what's a good lead and how to like screen for those things. And so rather than send them 100 phone calls and let them figure it out and talk to and figure out who the 10 most important people are or whatever, you're
Yeah.
just figuring out who the 10 people are and passing them over. Love just to hear your
Yeah.
thoughts on that kind of process, why you brought that in, how you see.
So the way that came to fruition is I had a client in Jersey that was so good at making me hurt with my heart. Like the language that he used
Yeah.
was just so strong. And I was like, I literally cannot live with him talking to me. Like I would just hang up. It was like a disappointing father. I was like, I can't fucking deal with this shit. I'll just do it myself. Like I'll just fucking call these people. I can't deal with it. So I called these people back and I had full on conversations with them. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Oh, where you're from? Oh, we're down the street. Oh, I'm right across the river. That's so funny. We're just like, I'm having friendly, colloquial conversations. Like, it sounds like you're in construction. Is that right? Is that where you lost your tooth? Oh, no, I've been a problem for this time. Okay, cool. What kind of insurance you got? So I'm having a qualifying conversation on a recorded line. For however long it took, the guy sitting in rush hour traffic, he's not where to go. It's me and him. All right. Recorded the call. And then at the end of it, I said, all right, cool. I've got all the information that I need here, which is just me on Google Notes, or on the notepad, asking him questions, and I forget. Then I have to go back and re-ask the question. But the end result is I had the information that I needed, which was, when did you want to come in? Are you paying cash or financing? Like the 5 or 6 qualifying questions. So I had that conversation. At the end, I said, look, based upon what I'm seeing right here, I'm going to pass this to my general manager. They're going to give you a ring later today or tomorrow and get you booked in. And I can't make any guarantees or anything like that. We are booked solid, but if you saw an ad that's had this price point in it, there's a good chance it'll make sense, pending, of course, X-rays, and you're not lying to us. He's like, yeah, man, no problem. Like, I'll look out for a call. And I was like, great, thanks so much. See you later, bye. And then I sent that phone call to the guy who was playing my heartstrings. I said, I just had a 20-minute conversation. Here's the information. He wants you to call him tomorrow. He says, thanks. I was like, is this what you're looking for? He goes, yes. I go, okay, now I get it. Like the want was, I want a qualifying conversation with a real life person, ask them specific questions, and then book a callback time. That's what they want. And I originally thought maybe that means like website form fill or something. It doesn't. They want somebody on the phone to confirm it's a real life person, because the internet's full of fake people, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, maybe this is a thing. All right. So I call another client. I go, hey, man, based upon what I'm seeing, there's a lot of ups and downs with your account. I'm going to call back some leads for you and see if I can book it myself. They go, okay. Nobody ever said no. So I go inside GHL, call these people back, and I just cold call, smile and dial until people picked up, type of thing. And then some people did, and I had qualifying conversations with them. Oh, yeah, where'd you see the ad? Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great. So tell me what's going on with your mouth. Is this the front of the back, the side, the tooth, the canines? What do you think going on? Okay. Does your family have the same thing, or is it just you? No, it's just me. And was this an accident, or did it just kind of fall out? Oh, how did it happen? Gotcha. So I'm assuming you haven't been to the dentist. So I'm having these, like, I don't know what the hell to do. I'm not a fucking dentist, but I'm having the conversation. And then after the third, fourth, fifth time, I was like, all right, this needs to be the offer. This is what we're doing. Yeah. No other way around it. And I tried doing sales training with their staff, but they're just too busy, man. It's not a winnable scenario.
Not just that, but often I find the person who answers the phone in like a lot of industries is actually the least paid person in the company. And so they're like, give a shit level is the lowest. And it's not to say like they're bad people, but like, trying to train them to become superstar closers is just, it's just not in the cards.
It's not going to happen. It's not a scenario you're going to end up winning.
Yeah.
So I have all those conversations, and I was like, all right, I need to hire. And I use the term operator, not admin, not assistant, not phone call. I said operator. And I think the term operator wasn't poisoned, or isn't poisoned. It just sounds better than I'm looking for a cold caller or a virtual assistant or an
Yeah,
admin. It's
right.
like, no, man, you're the operator.
Booked
And so we
appointments.
hired, yeah, it feels better. Like they're like, hey, you have 100 booked appointments and 4 are gonna pick up. You're like, oh, Jesus Christ. You're like, too bad, smile and dial. Like that type of thing didn't exist with the term operator. And we hired the first operator, and they're based out of Venezuela. I paid them like $500 a month part time. And I said, look, your only job is to listen to these phone calls, just like I did, and then call people back. And if they don't pick up, that's cool, no big deal. They'll get paid either way. But if they do pick up, ask them these 10 to 15 questions. And then if that's okay, and you think that like they're a good fit and they're not giving you a bunch of shit for no reason, look up the client name tag, which you'll see on the card, and then do a live transfer like I did. And she goes, okay. And then we did it. And now I get text messages and notifications on Slack saying, hey, we just did like another live transfer. And I'm like, this is running without me. Like
Yeah.
we did 6 today. And I was like, oh my God, this works. And it's not 100%, it's like 70%, 80% because somebody will find a way to complain about something. But I was like, this is really cool because it feels like a business is running with employees and shit works.
Yeah.
And the only reason it happened was because I picked up the phone and I did it. Not I read a book about it, not like it's all about the cost per lead or your percentage of sales or your ROAS or your metrics. Like, no, man, I'm just gonna fucking do this shit myself and then figure out if that's what people want. And if it wasn't for that guy in Jersey like really like hurting me with his words, then I wouldn't have had this as like an add-on. What's even more interesting is when that happened, it wasn't the first time I heard of live transfer. It was the first time I had done it. The first time I heard of live transfer with Anthony Mann, who does super high-end real estate, and he does that whole live transfer thing because super high-end real estate brokers are not calling them back. They don't want to deal with it. The staff is actually highly paid. They're not going to be calling back these dead leads or something like that. So he has his own operators call them back, book a time. The account manager, so a highly paid operator, picks up the phone, does a live transfer. It's like, oh, I did what he did without doing it. And there was probably like 8 months between when he did that walkthrough and when it actually like popped up into my head and was implemented. I wasn't thinking of that as I was doing it, but looking back, like that was like behind the curtains, like the subconscious type of thing. But the live transfer process is another confirmation that this stuff works.
Yeah.
Like
I
another
think
one.
it really helps them actually convert to real business, which is the part they struggle with. A lot of times they'll tell you they need leads. And if you do this long enough, you'll realize the conversion is actually the much bigger stumbling block.
Correct. You know, what I've noticed, by the way, is the counterpoint to we did a live transfer was they didn't show, or they have no money, or didn't convert. And the cool part is I can say, look, Mr. Johnson, if somebody is on the phone with me or my staff for 5, 6, 7 minutes, and they got money and they want to come in and they want to come in ASAP, and your staff picks up the phone and books them for 3 weeks out, they're not coming in. They're already prompted to come in too fast. And I have recordings of that happening, and I can show it to Dr. H. And he's like, oh, well, that's just how it works. I was like, all right, whatever, man. At least I know my stuff works. I made the delivery. I don't have to live with not being good enough. You just don't want people coming in the same day.
Yeah.
And then there's some dentists that are like, yeah, the way we train our staff is, did you want to come in right now? It's like, great. So we'll do the live transfer. And then their operator, their GM says, did you want to come in right now? And some people say yes. And then they close a $20,000 close. They're like, great. So having that recorded line, having that live transfer, being able to say this person is interested, they saw the ad, they clicked on it, typed their name, number, and email, they've got money, they've got intent, they got desire. Like that is not only easy, a very good sales pitch, you just push play on the recordings, but it's very easy to keep clients. Because I can say, hey, we sent you 4 yesterday, man. I know 2 of them didn't show up, but one, spent 30 grand. So why don't we just focus on that number and the 50% win?
Yeah.
Versus having to focus on the 2% win of the 100 leads that they generated and only 10 picked up the phone. And then, you know what I mean? Like, I'd much rather give them a higher yield, which is where I think the market is moving, by the way.
Yeah.
I believe that the more and more people would be much rather having like a 75% yield or an 80% yield or 100% yield. So like, if I get a ding on my phone, it better be fucking serious. Like that's where people are.
Yeah.
And I think we're catching up to that versus, hey, we got 10,000 people on your email list, send out an offer, or the local business equivalent. I think we're getting to a point where if it's on my phone, I'm going to take that seriously, and with live transfers, we're hitting that, so it's pretty useful.
Dude, that's badass. Just being
Yeah,
a
man.
little bit conscious of your time as well. I'm booked in a couple of
No,
minutes.
dude, you're yeah.
For peeps who are interested in getting more of Jeff, I should add, by the way, I've had quite a few people that have gone through your IC and they say pretty awesome things about it. That's usually the
Appreciate
coolest
it.
thing, is what people say when you're not around. And I've seen some of
Yep.
your offer copy for it, and it's just straight up sexy how much you got like templates and tools for them to get rocking and rolling. You also
Yep.
got an awesome Facebook group.
Yep.
Give us a chance. Anybody who wants to give Jeff money or follow him, plug away, my friend.
I appreciate it. You just friend me on Facebook or something like that. There's a link to the Ass Fam. Frankie's in there. He hangs out every now and then. A whole bunch of people as well. And it's a pretty good tribe. And we've got the weekly lunch and learns. And every once in a while, I say, hey, did you want to buy my stuff? Type of thing.
Yeah.
But what I found is like up and coming agency owners, like the challenge is always, is what I'm doing wanted? And can I find help and support? And very often, if you have one problem, you don't have the 10,000, 50,000, 100 grand to go find support and just kind of stuck. And I feel like the Ass Fam has really turned into this place where there's people making like 10 million a month, just dropping knowledge bombs, and they're okay with that. And there was a thread earlier to like, I know some people are doing 10 million a month and just like answering questions. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's very hard to find. And I'm happy you're part of it too.
Yeah, and I would say, like, I think one of the coolest testaments is the caliber of people that follow you. Is like, it's a badass sign, and you're super transparent about all the shit that you're doing, and I think that's
Yep.
just fucking awesome. Because I think I joke about this with lawyers, but the only people who have a worse reputation than them is us as marketers. And
I fucking love that.
and you guys are working at like moving it the other direction. So I'll put some links below this for you guys who are interested in following Jeff. I'll put your profile in your group, and if you got anything for the IC, I'll put that as well.
Not necessary, but thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, my dude, thank you so much for doing this. This is I think been, like, at least for me personally, incredibly valuable, and I know the peeps listening to this after, when I post this recording, will get shit tons out of it. I'd love to do live with you guys, but you guys know I got 3 babies, and the chances of being interrupted are way too fucking high to to sit and go live
Yeah.
and listen to have a crying toddler. So thanks again, Jeff, for making time and doing this, my man.
Anytime, buddy. We'll talk soon. All right.